We are live. Hey, Rodney, welcome. We're going to let some people hop in here before we get going. I got Brandon Fisk. It's Fisk, right?
Yes, sir.
Brandon Fisk with us today. So let's get some people coming in. We're also, Brandon, like I said, well, this is streaming to also on YouTube and Facebook and some other places too. So. And to send out some emails. So we should have a few people show up here. Everybody, when you hop in, say hey and where you're from and all that stuff. I am in St. Petersburg, Florida. And Brandon, where are you in Texas again?
Houston, Texas.
Houston,
right across
Texas.
the street from NASA Space Center.
Oh, wow. It's been years. I haven't been to Houston since I was a kid. But I hear, I talk to a lot of people in Houston, and man, they've really done wonders with that city. A lot of people like it there.
Constantly being developed, man.
Tampa, Florida. I bet that's Randy. Chiming in from Tampa. Yeah, it's when I was a little kid, my family had a business where we liquidated hotels when they would close down or remodel or whatever. We would go into hotels and sell out all the furniture and fixtures and all that stuff. And we did when I was a little kid, we did a hotel in Houston. It was called the Rice Hotel. I mean, that was probably in the late 70s, early 80s or something like that, like that long ago. But yeah, I still remember being there. So remember it was hot.
Oh yeah. Man, the temperatures out here are ridiculous.
Yeah. It's crazy hot. All right, let's give a couple more minutes and we'll get rolling here. Everybody, hi, everybody coming in. Maureen from Michigan. Indiana. Guys, I feel sorry for you. It's cold up there today. I know it is. Because it's cool here. And if it's cool here, it's cold in Michigan. It's cold in Indiana. I was just watching a news piece on TV about all the Tesla. There were people having problems charging their Teslas in the cold up there. Yeah. Southern California. It's probably nice in Southern California, Laura. Maureen says it's freezing in Michigan. That's where I'm originally from, Detroit. So, but I'm glad I'm not there right now.
Oh yeah, you're enjoying that heat now.
Yeah, it's nice down here. We like it. All right, let's get rolling, everybody. I've got Brandon on here. Brandon's a member of the Wholesaling Partners community. And he agreed to come on the new Wholesaling Partners podcast and tell us about his journey. And the reason why I wanted to have him on is because he's new to wholesaling, like a lot of people. And he had, his first year, last year, I guess, in 2023, had really good success getting started and for a number of reasons, but I want to get into that with everybody or want Brandon to explain it to us. So let's start off by just talking about your past. You moved from Germany to America. So tell us about that. Why you don't talk like a German person. why you came to America and about like deciding over there to come here and get into real estate. So why don't you give us a little background real quick?
Yeah, man. I'm an Army brat. I'm still 100% American, but with my father being in the active duty military, he was getting duty stations all over the place. So Germany was one of his first, and took me and my sister over there when we were young and lived out a happy German lifestyle for a very long time. When he got a new duty station, he actually went from Germany to Japan and left me in Germany. And I continued working for the Department of Defense when I was there and always listening to podcasts, just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. But I kept hearing little nuggets about real estate. All rich people own real estate. That's how you get your wealth. Every blah, blah, blah. And I didn't really know how to connect the dots. But over time, though, that seed just kept growing. And during the 2020 pandemic, the job that I had gave us a opportunity to kind of put our lives on hold. And I was on I think, the very last flight out of Germany before the borders got shut down. I stayed with my mom for a little bit, and my sister lives in Houston. So I moved over here. My mom's living in Alabama. That was boring. So I came over here to Houston, and then that's when the real estate seed really started developing. I would see bandit signs everywhere or for sale signs. And the girl I met, who I'm now engaged to, her father does a lot of work with the auctions, foreclosed properties.
All right.
So after kind of paying attention more and more and more, I was like, how the heck can I get involved with something like this? And as naive as I was back then, I thought everyone needed a real estate license to do stuff. So I just doubled down on that, started studying real estate. It took me a good year and a half, 2 years before I had a good foundation and I was comfortable enough to take the test. I passed first try, got my real estate license, and I was dabbling with that for a while. And I was meeting up with a small group of local realtors who were doing classes on, like, how to do an open house or how to read a contract, and it was valuable information, but I wasn't really, lifting off or getting my feet wet or really doing anything but learning.
Right.
And for a lot of people, I realized that kind of creates analysis by paralysis, or, you know what I mean? And I was like, what the heck do I do?
Right.
So I did some open houses. I met with sellers, met with buyers, and I helped out as much as I could, but it's a lot of work as a realtor, especially when you're brand new.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the offices that we were going and doing these meetups at, I noticed another guy who would come into the office every now and then. He'd have a little back room, and he was just kind of sitting there in his office and I did God knows what, I didn't think about it. But few weeks, maybe a month later, I saw one of his for sale signs actually, and I gave him a call and asked if we could meet up, hang out at the office for a little bit. I explained to him that I'm across the hall at doing these little realtor meetups.
Right.
And he invited me over, came in, we chatted for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, just explaining to him, I feel like a pilot about to take off, and I don't want the direction to be wrong. Pilots change just 1 degree and they'll go a completely different direction. And that's how I felt, man. That's how I felt when I met him. So Stephen Hokie, man, if you're watching that, you're a freaking awesome mentor. He's been training me, keeping me under his wing ever since. And turns out he's also he's a disabled vet, and it kind of hit close to home with me, as my father is military.
Sure.
And
yeah, makes
got
sense.
a good military background. And not only that, we're both type 1 diabetics, dependent on insulin. And I was like, man, this is,
So you have all that.
yeah, like the stars are aligning here now. And
So let me stop you for a minute though, because you said something really interesting. Because growing up in Germany, different real estate market's different there. Like, they don't have wholesaling and all the stuff that they have here. So like a lot of people, when you came back here, or I kind of related to somebody that has heard about wholesaling or seen it somewhere, and they have no clue on how it works, right? That's where you started from, right? When you came here, what real estate is and what real estate investing is, but as far as the mechanics of it, like, you were starting from zero, right?
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point that out, because a lot of people, in the community, on the YouTube channel, everybody watching starts at the same point, right? They know real estate. They might be read a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? Or listen to a podcast or seen a YouTube video, but they're coming in this cold, right? And they they've got to follow a path like you did. So I wanted to point that out. Like, if you're on here watching this, Brandon started like where you started at, like ground zero, right? Not, he didn't grow up with a dad that, was a real estate investor or anything like that. It was from scratch, right? So anyway, okay. So you meet your mentor at the office.
Yeah, I want to say it was from scratch, but I felt like, man, like this path was kind of formed for me. It was almost created for me. And before I became, successful at this, I was telling myself, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm going to be doing realtor or investor side, wholesale side, it didn't matter, but I was going to get my feet planted somewhere in the real estate space.
It's a good mindset, right? It's that law of attraction, right? If you become what you think about,
dude,
right?
big time. And so I also have a part-time job. I work at Costco, right? And during I have a morning shift. I work early in the morning. So every single day when I'd go and help set the store up, I'd be listening to podcasts. Like the entire 6 hours every single morning, I was listening and paying attention to how other guys have done it. And now, not everyone has, useful information for me where I'm at,
Mm-hmm.
but a year later down the road, I remember things from those podcasts that now apply to me. So I've just been constantly building this foundation of knowledge and real estate information that is so freaking useful to me now. And it's hard when you can't directly apply it after you learn it. But I'm thankful that I spent so long learning and reading about it, because now, like, I pull out information from the back of my head that I have no use for really, but you know what I mean?
It's still bouncing around in there, right?
Yeah. So I really feel like I've just been telling myself over and over again that this is where I'm going to be. And I can't stress enough that the stars just started aligning with all of the information that I was accumulating. It just started hitting, man. Like I was able to connect the dots a lot quicker than most people starting. I think.
Well, I mean, everybody's at a different level. For some people, click really fast. I had, as I tell people, I had a background in mortgage and real estate and stuff. So although, I was a little hesitant going into wholesaling, it clicked fast for me, right? I was like, is this real? Is this, is it really easy, like people say, right? But it clicked faster for me because I was just all in, like you, right? I'm in this thing, right? No matter how it turns out. I'm going to be successful at this thing. And I think that's your attitude. And I would encourage people, to pay attention to that, right? It's a mindset thing. You can learn, you can buy another course, you can do all that stuff. But at a certain point, it's time to go, right? And we talk, about, did you suffer from any analysis paralysis? Did was there a point where you just said, okay, I'm done with this. I've just got to take action.
Oh yeah. Like I think shortly after I got licensed, man, I was looking for courses and boot camps from Bigger Pockets and stuff. I was looking for these things. And the more I would dive into it, I would meet, one or two people that have, had success at this and was able to explain me a little bit. And I never actually bought any courses, never did it. I was just looking at YouTube videos, reading. I have a For Dummies book, that I would just kind of flip through a little bit here and there. I went to a few real estate meetups with investors and all kinds of stuff. I was just constantly putting myself in these rooms that I was very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. And I think it was a fortune builder meetup that I went to where they actually try to get you to buy a course after the meetup is done. And then they'll even go and sell you a foreclosure list and stuff like that. And I bought one of those, man. I actually bought one. Not really understanding what it would do for me, but I was like, I know I'm taking the right actions somehow.
Some way, right?
Somehow, some way. And, I didn't do anything with that list, but it helped my mindset stay where it needed to be, I think. And I shortly realized, like, people always talk about expired listings or foreclosed properties. And because my father-in-law has his hands in the foreclosures and auctions, I had asked him to bring me along, and I got a firsthand experience with what the auctions are like. I was going and raising my bid number and trying to help him acquire some properties. And when after he would lock one up and buy it right there on the spot, he would take us over to the property he just bought and then finally see the scope of work that would be needed to take down this property. So I had like a really unique first kind of experience in that area. But man, like I said, the dots just continued to connect. I was putting myself in these rooms and I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew it was the right step. And I can't stress that enough. I knew I wanted to be here, so I just made it happen.
Let's talk about that. We talked about that before we started, but we agree that, again, back to the community and why I started the community, you have to be around other people doing this, right? And with your father-in-law, with your mentor and all that, it's, you put yourself in a situation where you were surrounded by people doing something that you wanted to do. With my scenario, as we talked about, I started inspecting houses, and then I was rehabbing houses and all that. But I ended up in a scenario where I was surrounded by people that were in the business. And that's what I'm trying to encourage everybody to do in this community. You've got to associate with other people that are doing this thing. You can't do it alone. Right. Like some people can, like if you like a fluky thing, where you're just really good at sales, really good at, whatever, you can do it. But real estate is a team sport, and you've got to surround yourself with people that are doing the thing that you want to do. So tell me, so I don't ramble too long, but tell me how instrumental that was for you, having those people around you. Do you think you would have had the level of success you had last year, or even done any deals if you hadn't had those people?
Certainly not. For me, it really came to the accountability. Like, because I was surrounding myself with these kind of people, I wanted to show them that I wasn't all just talk. Like, I wanted to go out and do something and provide value to the people already doing these big things. Mm-hmm. Not that it would be much value, but I showed them that I was continuously showing up and continuously looking to better myself so that I can be more valuable to these kind of situations.
Right.
And it's really just that osmosis that you're talking about. Because I'm going there, they're not wasting their time, but they're giving me their time to help show me something. I felt like I had to step up and show them something. Like, what am I going to be able to bring to the table? And it's really hard to think like that early on. But we all have time on our hands, and a lot of people will, I still did all this with a full-time job, and a lot of people will get home, be tired, and not really want to do anything. But if you have those other people that are kind of breathing down your neck, watching you, or hoping that you're going to do something with this information, right, I don't want to let these people down. Right. You know what I mean? I don't want to make them feel like they've wasted their time.
Right. So I want to talk to everybody about that for a minute. If you were doing something else, say you're an automotive worker, you're in Detroit, you work at General Motors, okay? And you want to do something like, get into real estate, get into wholesaling. But if none of your friends do it, all your friends work at the auto plant, and your wife doesn't do anything like that, maybe, or your husband or whatever, they've got a different kind of job. They want you to come home and just hang out with them on the couch, right? They're like, come home, watch TV. We'll put on some Netflix. We'll watch a movie, and then, on the weekends, we'll just hang around the house and, do yard work or something like that. So if you want to be successful in real estate, you have to have friends that are in real estate, right? Because it's too easy to go, you know what? I will just watch Netflix, right? I'll come home and I'll spend 8 hours watching TV with my wife, right? Do you agree? You've got to have those other influences in your life.
It's such a must. Yeah, it's such a must. And for the people that do have that situation, that issue, maybe their wife does like to hang out and just watch Netflix. You may not think you have the time, but you have to create the time for yourself. For me, it was drives to work. I'd drive to work 20 minutes right there. That's a podcast I could just devour, get some sort of bits and pieces of information. And it's happened often that I'll hear somebody on the podcast that is local to my market, and I'll reach out to these people and just ask a few questions like, hey man, how's your current deal going on, or whatever. And I get a little bit of pieces of information through those conversations too. And they'll say like, oh yeah, I'm doing land deals or whatever. Like, oh, I actually have a buyer who's doing land stuff too. Maybe if I can connect you two, you all have a better relationship for what you're trying to do. Right. I could be a connector for that. I don't know. There's little bits and pieces that you can always be doing to help better yourself. you know?
Yeah. I think you've done, from what you've told me, you've done a very good job of balancing your life. You've got you're in a relationship, you have another job, right? You have a lot going on, right? So you've done an excellent job of balancing that, but still being involved in real estate, right? Because I'm sure, are you married, right? You said you're married now, or is it still a fiance?
We're getting married in May,
You're
actually.
married to okay. So I'm sure there's days where she wants to watch TV or
Oh yeah,
Netflix or right, whatever.
and
So you can
I
still do that, right? You can do that, but then still have time where you engage in real estate, do some calls or whatever, right?
it's all about boundaries, like certain things. I've cut a lot of things out of my life that don't really apply to me anymore. I was a big skateboarder in Germany, and that's all I did. It devoured all my time. But that's one thing I had to let go to move forward in this. And
Yeah,
just like watching a lot of TV, I used to, everyone watches the fair share of sports or TV shows. And that's another thing. Like, I have a lot of time on my hands, but I cannot let it go to waste with what I'm trying to do.
yeah,
So I've created a lot of boundaries in my life to make everything in this industry possible. Like, I still go to bed early, I still wake up and go do my job, but I have carved out times throughout my day because my fiance, she gets off at 5. I do want to spend time with her and devote all of my attention to her during those times. But she also knows if I get a phone call that's important about a deal that we're trying to work on, she's she blesses me enough that I can take these calls and put my attention on that too. So
right.
we both have a clear understanding on what I'm trying to do, and she helps me tremendously throughout this too. It's good to have a partner who has a good understanding of what you're trying to do
Yeah,
too.
that's huge.
And
So, like, to give you that support that you need, you can't abuse it, right? You can't
yeah,
abuse that. Like, if they're understanding you, still keep it in check, right? Don't spend 50 hours a week ignoring your spouse because you're doing something. But it's
oh, you
nice when
can't.
when you have somebody that understands what you're trying to get at,
Exactly. And
right?
I've devoted, like, Sundays, for example. I don't like to do too much work on Sundays. It always happens, in the business we're in. But I really tried to take all my attention off the wholesaling, off the real estate stuff, and just focus it on her and the family, like,
Yeah,
really pay attention to what we got to do to get to our relationship to the next level. But yeah, you got to have boundaries in this space for sure. I have my silencer on, like my notifications silenced in the nighttime.
yeah,
It's just the boundaries you choose and work around those and stay true to your boundaries too. I've
yeah.
been I've been overwhelmed in this space too, where I'm working on 6 different files or something, and I'm bouncing around trying to talk to this person, that person, this person, and then I don't have any time in the evenings to spend with my fiance. And I just have to create those boundaries in the real estate space and in the relationship space to make both of them work synonymously.
Yeah. When I before I got into wholesaling, when I was rehabbing, I got into that where I was neglecting my wife quite a bit because I was just working so much, and it was one of the reasons I went to wholesaling is because managing crews. I mean, I was up, 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning in the winter in Michigan, so I could go turn on heaters in houses we were working on, and then I was working till midnight doing quotes, right? And I was just neglecting everybody other than my rehab crews, you know. But let's talk about how you started finding. You did 20 deals, one real
I
estate,
think, yeah,
20,
I think it
18
was
wholesale, or something like that.
23 total transactions last year, I
Okay,
believe.
so let's talk about how you started to do those, where you found them, what kind of marketing you were doing. Walk us through like how somebody that's brand new to this business comes in and knocks down 20 deals in their first year.
So my first one ever, I think I did a lease rental on the realtor side. I think that was my first one, but that lead was given to me by a realtor mentor.
Mhm.
And I mean, that was exhausting, man. Excuse my language. That was exhausting. And as just a renter, it's so much paperwork. And that was kind of almost a kick in the teeth for me, man. So, like, is it going to be like this every single time I'm trying to make money? And so the first wholesale deal, actually, that was a lead that my like super mentor, Steven, had acquired. And he walked me through that one. So I didn't really get to see how he captured that one.
Mm-hmm.
But shortly after, we were doing driving for dollars.
Okay.
We were driving up and down the streets of certain Houston neighborhoods, like the ones that move, the neighborhoods that really move properties. So we were doing driving for dollars, and we found a property that looked like it needed work. We knew it needed work, and we just reached out to him a couple of times. And I think after like the third follow-up, they were like, all right, we're ready to move. We're going to get this house sold. Can you guys come out and see it? Let me know what you'll be willing to offer. So me and Mr. Steven, my mentor, went to the property, had a great conversation with the owner. I kind of let him do most of the talking. I was learning every day, but watching somebody do it and have those conversations with somebody, it goes so far, man. Because I was able to take little things that he was saying and apply it to the conversations I'm having today.
Right.
And so after those driving for dollars, we were able to accumulate a small list of properties. I think we had like 10 properties the first time we went out, and we were hitting them. Like, we were calling them, but it's always in the follow-up, man, because I think every single transaction we've done, it's probably taken 3 or 4 follow-ups until we actually get an agreement signed. And man, like the first few times, it's frustrating calling everybody, asking if they'll take an offer on their house. You get told to F off or, go kick rocks and do all this. And it's discouraging at first. But once you get that first person to say yes, I remember the address, man. They had a huge pool. It was on Burning Tree Drive, I believe. And the lady, it was her mother's house, who had unfortunately passed away. And it was just time for them to get that process going too. And I was just there at the right time, following up with the people. I follow up with my leads every week now, no matter if I had a good conversation or bad. I always ask them, where are you guys at? How's things going? I try to come at them more as a friend instead of a salesman,
Right.
Trying to just build rapport. Like, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to buy properties in this area. That's all I'm trying to do. And the follow-ups, man, like, I can't stress that enough, how important follow-ups are, because after you've built that rapport, they trust you a lot more once you call them the 4th or 5th time.
Absolutely. You had mentioned earlier about remembering things that you heard in podcasts years ago, or things popping in your head that your mentor had told you. When I was early in my sales career, in my 20s, I was big into a motivational speaker that was big back then. It's called Zig Ziglar. He's still around. People still hear of Zig Ziglar. But one of his quotes was, you can have everything you want in life if you just help enough other people get what they want. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's in my head. It will never go away. So, and that rings true in real estate, right? If you call somebody and they're mean to you, they're dick to you, they could have something else going on in their life, right? They lost somebody. It's a probate house. It's, they've had bad tenants, whatever, so don't take it personally, right? Do like Brandon says, follow up, build rapport and all that stuff. Eventually, there's going to be probably a good chance that you can help that person, right? That's what we're doing. We're helping people with distressed houses get out of a bad situation. We're helping investors find good houses that they can, flip or, rehab and rent or whatever. So just, keep that in mind, right? I just wanted to touch on that since you said it, but build those relationships, follow up with people, and do all that stuff. So
yeah, I've really learned to come at this business like you're trying to provide value. Like not everybody really realizes that right away. They're always thinking about the paycheck. How much money can this deal get me? But the mentality that's really helped me is, how can I help this person realize that they need help?
Yeah.
Like, we deal with some foreclosures quite often, and I always call them, I always think it's like an ostrich, hiding their head in the sand until that creditor comes knocking on your door.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I try and explain to them like, hey, you may not know of this information, but your house is on a foreclosure list. I don't know what your plan is when the people come and knocking, but I'm here with a cash offer to help you out right now. I will
Yeah.
help you. I'll help you through the whole transition to get you where you need to be and comfortably, and
Yeah.
just explaining to these people sometimes over and over that I'm here to help you. Like, don't be upset. And that's just really a strong mentality that I've had to develop for myself, because I came into this business looking to make money too, but that's just not the right way to go about it. You always have to be providing value to the people you're
Yeah.
talking to, no matter if you're going to be a good fit for them or not. I talk to a lot of people that I won't be a good fit for. They're trying to get retail value for a house, and I
Hmm.
can get that for you, but it's not going to be in the way you want it to be. Like, I know you want to be done with the property in 2 weeks, but this cash offer can do it, or we can sit
Yeah.
it on the market and let the buyers decide.
It's just human nature for us as real estate people or wholesalers. It's really easy to get into this, what's in it for me mindset, right? I'm just trying to get a deal. I'm trying to get a deal, trying to get a deal. Take a step back from that and really think about the people that you're calling on, right? And what you said about people sticking their head in the sand on foreclosures. It's true. People, when people, they start getting calls from the bank, they start getting like the FedEx things taped to their door, you're in foreclosure.
Yeah.
These people just shut down, right? I don't want to
Mhm.
hear it, right? Same with, tax delinquent and all that stuff. They don't answer the phone. They're not looking at the mail. They don't even open the letters anymore, right? I just don't, if I don't look at it, it's not real, right? So keep that in mind with everybody you're talking to, be it probate or foreclosure or tax delinquent or whatever, divorce, all that. These people got some shit going on in their lives, right? And you've got to be the person that, that's there and says, you know what, I understand, like, you don't, you just want to look the other way, but I'm here to help you. Right. So if I can help you, be it, I'll give you a cash offer. We'll get, if you don't want to do that, if the house is, nice and you can get top dollar, let's get you an agent and get it on the market. If you want to rehab it, I've got a good rehabber that I can refer you to. Be the solution guy, because people don't want to manage their own manage their own rehab. They'd rather just like get rid of it, but still make the offer, right? Like, do you need the grass cut? Like, the grass is 3 foot tall, right? Can I get you somebody to come cut the grass or shovel the snow or whatever, and be that guy for them, right?
It's so true, man. Like, it's so true. Just trying to find what the person's problem is will almost always get you the next step of that deal. Like, what's your problem? What's going on? Why can't you move forward?
Right.
And, it's like a sibling or something being a tenant in this house or whatever.
Right.
And you're like, okay, well, this tenant's been there for so long not paying. Maybe we can help get them out and find them a better place to live,
Yeah.
And, we've paid tenants out to get out of the properties, and, nobody enjoys doing that, but it helps move things forward.
Yeah.
And the sellers will appreciate that you're trying to help them. We've put, belongings in a storage facility for a couple months, and the amount of thankfulness that these people receive or want to show you for doing something that like that. People expect investors like us to just give them a cash offer and steal all their equity. Well, no, I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to realize the opportunity here that most people aren't seeing. You
Mhm.
have, a $10,000 roof that needs to replace, but you're living in there comfortably. Eventually that roof is going to give out and you may not be able to afford it, but
Right.
I can at least help you get through the situation, you know, whether it's help you get out of the house and move you into a better one, or help get a roofer over at a discount or something. You're always going to be providing value to these people. And so they'll look for you as a person that's willing to help always. And
Right.
that's like really like night and day between a lot of people. I could
What
see,
what you did, what you just said, for everybody on here, what Brandon just said is a way of negotiating. Okay, if because people always want top dollar for the house. Like, what do you want? What do you want for your house? Well, the guy down the street just sold for 200,000, so that's what I want. And then then you have to have that conversation, because you've already walked through the house and it needs a roof, and that 3 slabs of the driveway have to be replaced, and it hasn't been updated since 1950. And, so you've got the list of things and you go, yeah, I completely understand that. You're in a great neighborhood, and the house on the street's really nice and all that stuff. But here's the thing, right? That house, 200,000. But you need a roof, and that's 10 grand or $8 or whatever it is. And I've got to replace some of the driveway, and that's going to cost me $5,200. And then you work them down, right? And you show them where you're going to have to spend money at this. And then then you're like, and then it's also, me managing the project, and I've got to have a little bit of profit margin in here to make it worthwhile. So, with that said, I can give you 120,000 is what your house is worth, minus all these things. And then people get that, right? I mean, like,
big time.
If you just say, I'll give you 120, they're like, get the heck out of here, But if you explain it to them and you have it written down on a piece of paper and you've got like this and this, seeing is believing. And when they see the numbers and you subtract it from that 200, that's when you get to, this is what your house is worth.
So true, man. It's so true. I watched my mentor do this at a property not too long ago. He pulled his calculator out and did all the math with the repairs right in front of him.
Right.
And at the end, the seller was like, "Oh, well, that makes a lot of sense." I think he was wanting like 200 grand or something, and the house was only worth, I think it was like 230. So we're like, we're going to end up losing money right on day one if we end up buying the property at your 200. So for us to be comfortable buying this, we pulled I watched him pull his calculator out. He went over like the roof is going to cost this much, foundation is going to cost this much. And if I pay all that, I'm going to end up way over on the property, and I won't be able to make money.
I'll be at 280 instead of 200, right?
I mean,
let's go back to your marketing. Have you found all your deals through Driving for Dollars?
We've done a few different things, man. Like I've gotten some referrals too because of other people that I've worked with, and they appreciated how we did the business so well. So another fun fact: my fiancée works at a title company, and it helps tremendously when I'm able to maybe provide a HUD, like a sample HUD for a seller. Like that's done monumentous help with sellers, helping see that we're here professionally. Like, this is what we do. And so we've done a lot of that. Referrals work. I connect with a lot of people on Facebook too, Facebook Marketplace, and we even call Zillow FSBO owners, man. We do a whole bunch of different things. Right now, we have 2 virtual assistants that create lists that seems to be working pretty great. Like I have 2 appointments that I'll be calling later on today from a virtual assistant that just came in this morning, and they came from pre-foreclosure lists. Okay. So I don't know if there'll be deals or anything, but at least I'll be able to have that conversation with them, kind of explaining to them what we're about and how we can provide value for them.
Right. The Facebook market, are you going into like the local buy-sell trade groups and putting the posts in there like, hey, I'm looking for a house that needs work kind of scenario?
Exactly. So we have a few Facebook groups that my mentor actually runs, and we're always marketing on Facebook. We're always trying to provide what we're doing, different houses that we've closed, closed in 9 days, or what we're looking for from other investors, and help joint venture on some of them. There's a lot of people that have a big struggle trying to get their houses moved, which is, normal. That's how you learn the business. But at the same time, you don't want to waste the seller's time at, locking up a property too high or wasting their time like that. And we're trying to provide value to not only other wholesalers trying to get into the business, but the sellers that don't understand what wholesalers are too.
Yeah, sure.
We have a huge connection of buyers. Like, I kind of think of it like you don't go to a farm of cows to get a hamburger. You got that cow has to go through the work and.
Oh no, we lost Brandon.
Oh,
there
you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I was getting a phone call, man. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, just different things like that. So we use Facebook hugely for marketing in that way. We're not spending a fortune on it, but we connect with the right people, and I think that really helps. And Houston is massive. The market in Houston is huge. I can go down the street and probably find 5 houses that need work today and
Right.
hopefully get in contact with a few of them. And it's always just the follow-ups, man. That's probably my biggest takeaway in this business. Just following up is the biggest thing.
I've talked about the you mentioned the list or working with other wholesalers, and one of the purposes behind Wholesaling Partners, the community, is so you can find guys like Brandon in Houston, like if you're in Houston, right? And say, hey, if you're new, I've got a deal, I need to help move it, right? And I would assume that you would be open to like talking to people about stuff like that in your market.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Right. And if you're in another market and you're good at closing deals and you've got some under your belt, and I want people to reach out to you and do that. So it's important not to just market for buyer or for sellers, but to build a good buyers list, to build a wholesaler list, and you can reach out to wholesalers and say, hey, do you have any deals you need me to help move? Right. So it's, you got things coming from all over. You got them coming from Facebook. You've got a VA calling. You're driving for dollars. You've got other wholesalers bringing you stuff. And that's how people are successful in this business. That's how, Brandon's successful in this business, because he's not, he's taking action. And you could be successful if you just took action on driving for dollars, right? And just did that all day, every day, right?
Probably. It would be a lot more time consuming that I'd be willing to use. But I mean, I think that is, if you're new, that is the way to do it. Just get a pen and paper and go drive by all the ugly houses and just write the address down and go and try and find the owners of it. I think really that's how everybody should start. And you'll get so much experience talking to the sellers when you do get a hold of them, because there's a lot of numbers that will not work, of course. But once you start getting repetition and start doing it every single day, man, it was like the first 3 months. That's all I was doing. That's all I was doing for at least 2 hours a day. And over time, like, you just experience a snowball effect. You start talking to more people, connecting with more buyers on Facebook. Facebook, man. I it sounds ridiculous, but Facebook has been our almost
everybody's on there, and having your own group is smart. I've a guy in Detroit. He's got like a Detroit off market property group, and he's got, investors joining, wholesalers joining. And like when I joined it, man, he would reach out to me every day. You got any deal? Because he didn't know, I had the website and the YouTube and stuff. So he'd reach out to me every day. Hey man, you got any deals you need me to help move? And he would just did that every day. But he's got 7,000 people in his group. I'm sure he does a lot of deals from just that one Facebook group, right?
You have to be active in there though, whether you're just writing a simple comment, but make people know who you are and what you're trying to do. It's so important, man.
Give value, right?
Give value.
Like I'm trying to do with this platform. Just, having you on here, having other people on here, I'm trying to give everybody value, right? Because if I just started this community and didn't post anything or didn't comment on anything, but nobody's going to come back, right? But if you start a Facebook group in your market and go in there and consistently put things of value in there for other wholesalers, for investors, for whoever, it's going to grow, and you're gonna see results from it, right?
Yeah, we have seen results. We've seen quite a few results. My mentor is wild with the Facebook game, man. Like he's on another level entirely with how he works. Yeah. And he's been able to build these Facebook groups and keep a good record of everyone in there. There's people, unfortunately, you got to delete and keep out just so they don't spam up the groups.
Yeah.
But there's people in there, realtors as well. Realtors, landlords that are always trying to move their properties. And you'll pay attention sometimes. You'll see a landlord who posts the same house over and over and over again who can't get it moved. And then that's when you go in there with a little comment like, hey, man, if you're needing help with this property, whether we find you a tenant or just buy it from you, we're here to help you. Just let me know what you need, man. Yeah. And, we can, partner up with landlords and try and get their property filled by a tenant. But you know how the landlord game is. People are going to get tired of it eventually and want to sell. So we're being right there front of line for these people every single day.
So you guys, I'm doing a call this Friday on email marketing. But guys, you think about it, if you have if you start building a group like that and take the extra effort to do something like that, and you have a list of landlords, and you have a list of fix and flip guys, and you have a list of realtors, and you have a list of wholesalers, no matter what the scenario is, you can help. Right, you can go. You've got a house, that's got a tenant in it. I've got a list of 80 landlords that might want that property, right, or whatever the scenario is. So, do what Brandon's mentor is doing, and build the heck out of your list and everything. Brandon, tell me about where you want this to go. Where are you envisioning your wholesaling career going?
I have a few short-term goals that I'd like to accomplish at the moment. Like me and my fiance, we're trying to get our first fix and flip or rental done this year. Just to, that's another area. I know it's not my niche, but I do want that experience just so I can, have more skin in this game in all different areas, right?
Right.
Right now, me and my partners have just been building up this wholesale business so we can kind of step back away from it too. My mentor, Steven, has done an incredible job by even putting me on, and I'm watching him, how he's growing himself and what he's been able to do. I've seen him kind of step back, and fortunately, I've been in the position where I can kind of take over the steering wheel and drive it a little bit. And man, like, I'm just so grateful for him being able to let me do that. Eventually, I'd like to create, my own wholesale space too, where I can step back, kind of like what you're doing, and provide value to newbies and try to make this not such a foreign industry.
Yeah.
Like people think real estate, they think of realtors or real estate agents, and there are just so many different avenues that this industry offers.
Yeah.
Like, how many people use a transaction coordinator? It's one of the most important things in this business, but how many people actually know what it is, what they do, or how to even do it or get started with it?
You mentioned that, and it just so happens that next month I have a transaction coordinator coming on to talk about that.
Dude, yeah, exactly, man. There's so few people that know.
Yeah.
every
I
in and
think
out of this.
it takes time. In beginning, nobody even acknowledged wholesalers, and then a lot of realtors got mad about wholesalers, right? And there's still some out there. But now, as time goes on, things change, right? And now you've got a lot of realtors that are also wholesalers, right? So it evolves. And I think in another 10 years, wholesaling is going to be, it's already commonplace, but it's going to be very accepted, right? It's just like there was real estate agents and real estate investors. Now it's just going to be agents, wholesalers, investors. It's evolving to that. So it's not going away. A couple of states, they've passed laws where they want you to be a licensed realtor, do wholesale deals. You can still do them through transactional funding or some other ways, but it's really, I think it's more about the National Association of Realtors just wanting their piece of the pie versus like caring if wholesalers are licensed or not, because there was a lot of transactions going on all of a sudden that they're not a part of, and they're like, hey, our members aren't making any money on these wholesale deals, so you need to be a wholesale, you need to be a realtor if you're going to be in it. So
I do think it's helpful being a realtor as a wholesaler. Like, I carry my license and I don't plan on giving it up. It just makes us in this business that much more legit and trustworthy. Like, I can come at you all day with the cash offer, but if you're really wanting retail, I can say, like,
I can still list it.
We can list it for you. Let's do that then. And it just makes you a little bit more trustworthy in this space. As
I've never ever discourage anybody from getting their license. It opens up more opportunities. You can sell retail. You can do those things. You can get access to the MLS if you do that. And it's never bad learning something. You've got a real estate, like when you go to a real estate course, it's mostly, if not all, real estate law that they teach you. It's not how to sell. It's not how to sell real estate. It's just like, here's what you don't do, right? So, but which is never a bad thing. So, I don't discourage it. So, Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to follow your career and have you a part of this and the community, and hopefully get some people to work with you. I've got a couple of people. Were referring to the what we talked about coming in with your offer, negotiating and working down with what needed to be repaired. And how do you Jose said, how do you explain the cost of repairs broken down to the seller when that poses a question how we make money? In my experience, and we'll see if it's different for you, Brandon, but in my experience, Jose and who else has that, MCS, when I do it, I kind of round up the numbers, right?
Yeah.
So as an investor, if you're an investor and you've got rehab crews that work for you or contractors, you're not paying retail for work. Okay. If I get a roof done and if a homeowner gets a roof done, I'm paying a lot less for that roof than the homeowner is, right? So because I'm using guys that don't do a lot of advertising, they're just a crew, it's not through a company. All right. So I'm not paying the general contractor and all that. So I can use like retail numbers, which would be the numbers that they would pay. But I'm not paying that much, right? So the numbers that I give are a little padded, right? So they've got, each one has profit margin in it. So when I'm talking about the roof, we're talking about the driveway, or talking about whatever, I'm padding those numbers at the retail price where I'm paying less. And then I will say, and then I've got to make a little bit profit for my time. So, and I might throw a number in there like 20 grand or something like that, right? So you add all those numbers up, and if you've got a $5,000 cushion here and a $2,000 cushion here and a $25,000, then you get to your number, right? So I mean, what do you do when you negotiate like that? How do you explain that you're going to pay for those things and then add some profit in there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I use a rehab estimator, actually. So
Okay.
I go through, I take a bunch of photos of the property, do a little walkthrough video or something, and I'll go back home before I write up my offer, and I'll put a rehab estimator up. It's got all the numbers in there. You can follow it directly. And yeah, I mean, we estimate big time. It's not going to be perfect. I've even learned that most contractors have their own subjective opinions on what it's going to cost.
Yeah.
So I always give an estimate and tell them, like, look, we're a real estate business. We're here to make money. And we usually do it when we buy the properties. And that's why we need it at such and such price. Here's our rehab estimator on kind of what we're expecting to pay for the rehab to get it to the retail value. And that usually helps the understanding it. I still tell them, like, we're going to pay all the closing costs at the title company. You're not going to have to deal with the realtor fees. So this number is what it is. But for us to make it happen, we have to have it at a discount,
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. You're paying for the convenience of selling it.
And everybody, if you're confident when you talk to people, and you're not like nervously explaining it, right? You're like, oh, well, we're going to make a couple dollars. I hope you're not upset. You don't want to do it like that. You're like,
right.
This is what it is, right? We do this every time. Here are the repairs. We've got a 10 or 20% profit margin on top of that we have to pay for managing the project and and all that stuff. And that's what it is, right? And if you do it confidently, nicely, but confidently, they're like, oh, okay, right? But if the second you go, maybe we can do a little less, then you've messed up your
you shoot yourself in the foot that way too, man. Like, I've learned that being a pushover in this business does not get you anywhere. Yeah. I've had to go back and renegotiate numbers that don't work for us at all. And that's just going to piss the seller off. You're going to them with a price you originally had under contract. And now all of a sudden you have to drop it 10 grand.
Yeah.
They're not going to appreciate that. I mean, it happens, but
here's the thing. And you mentioned this earlier about wholesalers putting something under contract at too high of a price. Okay. And it's because of that, right? Because they're excited, and I'm going to get a deal. Like this person said they want to sell. I'm going to, here's my contract. I'm going to fill it out and I'm going to get this. Be willing to walk away from a deal. If it's not a deal, don't sign the contract. Right? If it's not a deeply discounted, a property, don't do it. If the person's like, oh, it's, I want 200 grand and the house next door is all fixed up and it's sold for 205. Don't do it. That's not a deal, right? Don't, right? So you have to have this conversation, right? It needs work, right? It needs, there was a fire in the back bedroom. We've got to rip out the drywall. We got to do all that stuff. It's going to cost money to do that, right? Either you can do it and spend all your time and your money trying to figure it out and put it on the MLS after you're done and sell it. Hopefully you did it right and disclosed it right and got the right permits and all that stuff. Or you can let us do it and don't worry about it and just take the money and go. And, yeah, it's a little bit less than you wanted, but then you're not taking on something that you have no experience doing, right?
So well said. Yeah, so well said. Because a lot of people, we've had the situation where a person will buy an investment property thinking that they're going to hire a contractor team and pay all the materials themselves, and then quickly realize how underwater they are. And now they can't pay off the hard money loan, or now they can't pay this or that.
Right.
That's, when people like us come into the play and say, look, I see you're struggling with this. What can I do to help you right now?
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll be like, I just want to be out of this. I did not realize that I was biting off more than I could chew.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, let's run the numbers real quick. What's your ARV? How much have you put into the house? How much do you owe? And then try and find a number in the middle that works for both of us.
Yeah.
I don't want to lock up a contract that I'm only going to make $500 on, It happens, but I want to help you see this through, but I don't want my time to be wasted getting it all done for you either.
Yeah.
And just once you lead with that transparency, people appreciate that so much more than bouncing numbers around, saying like, well, I'll take it to my guys and see if it works. They want that fast and speedy.
They're in a bad situation and they're looking for somebody to be the solution and be confident that there's the solution. And, you hear these stories about somebody getting a contract and then they're like, my seller signed the contract and then they ghosted me, right? Now I can't get them back on the phone and all that. It's because they just wanted you to go away. And they didn't know how else to get rid of you. You weren't confident. They were never sold on your price or your offer or whatever. And they just wanted to get rid of you, right? So when you're talking, and this takes practice. I don't expect everybody to be, a good negotiator right off the bat if you've never done this before. But you have to try to be confident and you have to be honest, okay? So don't go in and say like, oh, like Brandon when he started, he didn't go in and say, to a seller, oh, I've done, I do hundreds of deals a month and, I would venture to say he was just him,
Yeah.
Hey, I'm doing this business, like I'm doing, we're out here, getting dirty, trying to learn the business and all that. And, we can help you. I work with an investor, and we can get the deal done. Right.
Yeah. I have two things to say in that area though. I think borrowed credibility with my mentor, Steven, has helped me tremendously.
Sure.
I really think like his confidence was able to lean on me a little bit and make me feel more confident and make me feel like I've done just as many deals as Mr. Steven has. That's not true, but hearing him talk about it and explain it over and over again, I can take the things that he said and, be the filter to the seller that I'm talking to. Now that could be a double-edged sword because they may ask me something that I don't know about an experience that Mr. Steven has had that I haven't had.
Right.
But that's when I just have to be transparent. Like, yeah, I've never been in that situation, but a good partner of mine has, and I bet he has a good insight on what we can do to help through that situation. So borrowed credibility is huge, but also know when to just be completely honest,
Yeah. I think people can read people and if that's always a better scenario, like you said, in your instance, you have borrowed credibility. If you team up with somebody, you can do that. If you have, cash buyers that are, you've built relationships with, then you can borrow some of their credibility. If you're new and you don't have anybody, then I always recommend just be yourself, right? Be honest. I think it's better to go in and say, you know what, I'm a new investor, right? And we're out looking for some properties, and I saw your property and I thought it'd be good. But don't act like you close 20 deals a month if you don't close 20 deals a month.
Yeah.
Now, your case, you've got a mentor that closes a lot of deals, so you can say we close a lot of deals every month. But in that helps.
Yeah, it really does. Because I do say we a lot when I'm approaching anybody in this business. Like, this is how we operate. I don't want them to know it's just me by myself. I can't do that. It also makes me look a little bit less professional because I have a team that's breathing down my neck, making sure I do everything correctly too. Because what I do, if what I do is bad, it'll make them look bad, and I don't want that to happen. So, like, I know when to not bite off more than I can chew. I got to go ask for help all the time, whether that's me calling him or calling somebody else that has this experience. I'm on the phone all day long talking with people, sellers or buyers or just other people that have done this business for so long. It's so important. Just like those little 5-10 minute phone calls you can make. Most people in this industry would be happy to jump on the phone call with you. It's fun. We talk all day long to people. That's what we do. So just asking people for help and seeing where they're at. I mean, it's incredible to see the different scenarios and different stories that happen in this space.
Yeah.
We're all trying to do the same thing,
Yeah. You guys, it's so important. Again, we're part of Wholesaling Partners. Find people near you and start talking to them, start having the conversations and start partnering up and going having coffee and going to RIA meetings and immersing yourself in this business, right? That's why we're here. That's why we're here, so we can all learn. Brandon, any final words for everybody?
Man, stay determined, man. This is a hard business to stay in. It's a hard business it's an easy business to get into, but it's a hard business to stay in. So just get a routine, develop repetition, and just don't stop it until you get momentum. Once that momentum comes, it will snowball and snowball and snowball. And then you'll be able to look back like me and realize that, I just been doing the same things every day, but I have a little bit of success in this because of the repetition that I've been.
Dude, you got more than a little.
You're
doing great. You've got more than a little success. You're doing it. So, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you doing this and giving everybody a little bit of inspiration that they can get it done too. If any of you are in Houston and want to connect with Brandon, he's on the platform. Just search his name and he's going to come up. I'll put this video in the partner interview library. So if anybody wants to watch the replay, it will be there for you.
Awesome. Thanks, Mr. David.
All right. I'll talk to you soon, man. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. All right. Bye.